All right, everyone, please welcome the Cooper Medical School of Rowan University class of 2018. Very good. Thank you. There's a lot more of you. Okay, everybody feeling a little better than when you were sitting here this morning? Yeah, looking a lot better too. All right, I'd like to start things off by introducing Dr. Paul Katz, our dean. It would take most of the program to go through his CV. Paul is a renowned internist rheumatologist, served in many positions, including chair of medicine at Georgetown, served as vice dean and started at the Commonwealth Medical College. Most importantly, and I think what he'd be most proud of, he's a hands-on leader. He leads by example, he encourages all of us, then he empowers us, steps out of the way, and makes fun of us. And he looks at medicine as much more than a science. He sees it as a profession, and it's that leadership that we really appreciate. Paul?
Thank you. I knew Dr. McGeehan couldn't end without giving me a little shot there, so I do appreciate it. It really is a great day for a celebration, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But we're here really to recognize this wonderful class, the 72 young men and women in the class of 2018. And this is their day. I do want to introduce a few of our guests. We're very pleased to have Dr. Kenneth Blank, Senior Vice President for Health Sciences at Rowan University. Dr. Blank, a great supporter of our medical school and a real friend to us. We have a number of members of our medical school board here. We're happy to have them here. We also have some of our wonderful faculty, department chairs, and staff. As you all know, we're running out of room, as you can look around and see. We're going to have to figure out somewhere to go next year when we have 80 rather than 72 students. So we have some of our guests in some of the other rooms, as well as we're streaming this live, and we will record it. So just hopefully we'll go viral tonight. So maybe not. So I don't want to say a lot because this is really a day about our speaker and our students, but I want to say a few words about the class. And for some of you, loved ones, parents, family, friends, this may be your first time to Camden, maybe the first time to our medical school, and it may be the first time you've really heard about your students' classmates. So we have a remarkable group of, don't remember this, okay, because I'm going to give you guys some props here. Remarkable group of young men and women here, and we're at a really interesting time in medicine since there is an overabundance of very talented people who want to go to medical school. And so from the perspective of our medical school, this is a great position to be in. But one of the things that's really most important for us, it's obviously important that the students be able to deal with the rigors of medical school, which are many. And there are awfully a lot of young men and women out there who are very capable of doing that. So what's more important for us is that we find students who match the very significant mission of our medical school. And that's something that our admissions committee looks for and we feel is one of the most important things. So when you walked into the building today, you may not have noticed that on the wall, our dedication plaque is really not a list of names of people, but really is our mission and our core values, which is something that we hold very dear. So we saw in your students something that we thought would match our mission and match the things that we're looking to do in terms of creating future physician leaders, in terms of educating physicians to be providers of care to underserved communities, and really looking to be medical innovators. And I'm very pleased that with our third class now we continue very, I think, good progress in those goals. Just a couple words about this class. I was in here about 6 hours ago, and as they were getting ready, many of you probably know they had their first exam this morning, and they didn't look like they do now. And actually, they look mostly like they did when they came to interview. So you guys look great, and congratulations on passing a first step. We hold our white coat ceremony not at the beginning of the school year, but a few weeks into it for a couple reasons. One is we want our students to get adjusted. Two, they are about on the brink of beginning their clinical experiences, which are early in many. And we have, while orienting them to our school and to the profession of medicine, we think it was important to have them get their feet wet in the school and really celebrate today as their significant and very important entry into the wonderful profession of medicine. So that's why we hold it a little differently than some places. And this is a great celebration for us. One of the things I told my dean colleagues is that as much fun as this is, I hope for the students and all of you, it's equally fun for us here at this medical school. It is rejuvenating for us. It reminds us why we're doing this, and so this is an exciting day for us as well. I'm going to thank some people at the end, but I'm going to ask the class of 2018 to turn around and thank, just wait a minute, the people who were very important in getting you here. And none of us got to med school alone. We got through this with a lot of support from family, friends, and colleagues, and it's important that we all recognize and you recognize them. So I'm going to ask you to turn around and applaud and wave to your loved ones and friends that are in the class. So to all of you who are family, friends, and loved ones, your job is not over. And while we're going to take very good care of your student, it's really important that you stay engaged with them, not just for the next 4 years, but obviously through the rest of their career and life. And I know you'll do that, but you have a lot to be proud of. This is a very special group. So today we are really fortunate to have a really terrific speaker. And this is our third white coat ceremony. The first year we had Dr. Daryl Kirch, who's president and CEO of the Association of American Medical Colleges. Last year we had Dr. George Thibault, who's president and CEO of the Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation, a real supporter and innovator of medical education. And this year we continue that trend with Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice. I told Valerie that last week I happened to be at a meeting with our inaugural speaker, Dr. Kirch, and he was asking me about who came after him and who was speaking this year. And I told him, and he said, well, looks like you continue to do better than when I was here. So I didn't really say anything. I'm not going to say a lot about Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice. You can all read about her, and I promised her I wouldn't do this. But there's something about her that was particularly important to us in our medical school, and that is what she's doing at the Morehouse School of Medicine. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Morehouse, Morehouse is one of the 3 historically black medical schools in this country, in Atlanta, Georgia. And Dr. Rice last week was inaugurated, added to her position as dean, the position of president of Morehouse School of Medicine. So we congratulate Dr. Montgomery Rice. So Morehouse is a freestanding institution. It has a great mission. And one of the things, as I mentioned before, we talk a lot about at our medical school is mission. And what we believe is more than the role of just educating future physicians. It's really impacting the community. And Dr. Montgomery Rice has been a real leader in that. So I'm going to sit down and introduce today's speaker, Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice.
I am always amazed at how nice the students clean up, because I saw some of you all. You clean up very nicely. And we also at Morehouse School of Medicine, we have our white coat ceremony in the year. So we had ours last week, right before my investiture. And so I am still floating high off of all of those activities, because this is such a special time. And so I thank you for inviting me to join you in your white coat ceremony. It's a special time, an exciting time in a medical student's life, and I really consider it a gift to share it with you. I said thank you to Dean Katz. He is one of the people who really works alongside with me and others who really are interested in making sure that medical education doesn't get lost in the shuffle of healthcare. Because how we educate and train this next generation really does matter. So I am so inspired by your mission, because the work that you're going to be doing as you lead and really lay down the foundation for how you as medical students are going to become this next generation of healthcare leaders. And this is going to be done not just by the people sitting in this room, but by the community that is going to allow you to come in and share with them in the most intimate parts of their life. Cooper Medical School is a school after my own heart. As you know, at Morehouse School of Medicine, you, like we, have chosen to answer the call, and we really do believe it's a call to serve the underserved and to place service and compassion at the forefront of healthcare delivery. You know, sometimes when we look at the news and listen to the radio, sometimes we can get confused about what the message is. We may get confused when we listen and people think that medicine is about this reputation of being only concerned about who has access and prestige and wealth. And our communities sometimes become disenfranchised and distrusting of us as medical professions. And sometimes they begin to question our loyalties and our intent. But more and more, as I began to look at some of the new medical schools that are coming of life, and some of us who have held true to our core, we see that we haven't lost the touch, the true foundation of what medicine is, and that is service. And Cooper Medical School is unique in the fact that today you're going to don your white coats, and you are going to be wearing that white coat more than just as a fashion piece. It will be a white coat that has significance, that I hope that you will understand the value of every day as you get to put it on. I tried to find my old white coat, but wasn't successful. And then I tried to bring my coat with me. I brought a coat with me, and they said, no, we have a coat for you. And so I was happy about that, because I am sure that that old white coat, which is about 30 years old now, has probably taken on an identity of its own. I remember it. It was short puff sleeves, because we were trying to be fashionable. That was the style at that time. And I'm sure that it's a little tight around the waist now. You know, children would do that to you. But what I really remember about the coat is that it was short. It was a short coat. It wasn't long like this one. And it was short because I was in training. And all the students and the residents at Harvard Medical School, we wore short coats. Long coats were just for the attendings. And I remember that first day when I got to put on my short coat, and I had my stethoscope in my pocket, and I really thought I was somebody. You know, we did not have Instagram or cameras at that time. So we had like I don't even think we had the camera where you could screw the thing, you know, then we didn't even have that. We had like a big camera, but we took pictures. And my first rotation was a neurology rehab rotation, and I went to visit my first patient. And I hadn't had one of my key lessons that I learned in medical school, and that was knock first and wait for a response before you go into the patient's room. I wouldn't learn that later until I worked with Dr. Dan Thompson, who was the guru in GYN surgery. So I just entered the room because I had my white coat. I had my stethoscope. I was a medical student, and this was going to be my patient. And I will never forget this patient. She was 23 years old, and she had been admitted to the hospital in Boston following a bicycle accident in Italy. She and her fiancé had been hit by a bus while riding on a one-lane road. They both survived, but barely. And she was waiting to hear the news herself whether or not she would ever walk again. She was paralyzed from the waist down. I took her history and fumbled through my physical, and I was very nervous. I was very scared, because here was a 23-year-old with aspirations just like me, just lying there, waiting for some results that could really change the rest of her life. And she asked me, do you know the results of my test? And I didn't. I had only been told to go in with my new white coat on and do the history and physical. So I responded, no, but the team will be here in a minute to go over the results with you. And she said, okay, and let me continue to fumble through my exam. I went to my team and I told them my findings, and I learned the results of her test. We went on rounds and returned to my patient. I presented her and we slipped into the room. There were 2 short coaters and 3 long coaters. The senior long coat wearer began to speak, and I will never forget how carefully he chose his words as he told her that she had sustained permanent damage and would not be able to walk again. She cried. I was sad, but I was so relieved that I was wearing a short coat. Wear your short coat proudly. It's a training coat. And you're going to have the opportunity to observe and learn while wearing that coat. It allows for some mistakes. It allows for I don't know. It even allows for I don't know even when I should, but surely I will find out. What it doesn't allow for, though, is I can't, or I won't, I don't feel like doing it, or that's not my responsibility. Because once you put on that coat, it all becomes your responsibility. And someday you will transition to a long coat. And like me, there will be days when you wish you were still wearing that short coat. It will be in those moments that you will need to draw upon the oaths and promises that you will soon make Not only to your patients, though, but to yourself. I understand that you're in the midst of your promise campaign. And in keeping with the spirit of the campaign, I wanted to make some promises today. I promise that the profession you have chosen is fulfilling and rewarding. There has never been a moment in my life where I felt I was giving more to my career than I was receiving. I started out as a chemical engineering major. I was one of those nerds at Georgia Tech. And I was co-oping at Procter & Gamble, and I knew that that's what I was going to do. And about 3 years into co-oping, I recognized that I really did not like engineering. But I was pretty scared to change my mind. And I had an epiphany moment. And you probably have heard about this if you read anything about me, because I tell this story, it's the truth. I was working at Procter & Gamble. They had offered me a job. My mother had raised all 4 of her girls in a single-parent household. She worked in a paper factory all her life as a single parent. So to go and tell my mother that I didn't think I wanted to be an engineer was really pretty challenging. But I had a moment that I couldn't deal with anymore. I was in the back room or back building where we would do these experiments. I was doing the kinetics of detergent synthesis. That sounds exciting, right? You know, Tide. And I had on my jumpsuit and my blue bonnet and my goggles. And I kept walking through all of this oil, and it kept flushing up and flushing on my new outfit. And I kept thinking to myself, pretty soon this oil is going to penetrate this gown and my outfit is going to be messed up. And I remember looking so intently as I was reaching up to take another take another temperature reading of this kinetics of this detergent synthesis. And I said to myself through the fog, I am way too cute for this. I can't do this for a living. And so I decided to go to medical school. Now, and I tell you that story, not because I really thought I was too cute, but I tell you that story because I was going into a profession that I didn't have passion for. And every day since I made that decision, I've never looked back. And even though I've had my times of frustration and doubt, there was never any doubt in my mind that that was the right decision. I've had lots of other challenges with emotions of dealing with patients, but I've been able to keep moving forward because I have felt that this was my calling. And the great thing about medicine is that it allows you to turn your passion into a purpose. The next promise that I will make to you is that the road ahead will not always be straight and smooth or paved. Not every decision you make will be the right decision. Not every path you choose will be the correct one, and that is okay. There will be bumps in the road, detours along the path, and occasionally you actually might get lost. But the great thing is that if you acknowledge the challenge, what I sense from the people sitting with the long coats on, that there's going to be somebody to help guide you back on the road. The third promise that I make is that you will have a cheering section that can't wait to see you succeed. All of these people sitting up here, they're going to still take your call. They're going to take your call at 2 o'clock in the morning before your exam when you say, I know I'm going to fail. And they're going to say, of course you're not going to fail, sweetie. They're going to let you invade their space when you just want to come in and eat and not have a conversation. They're going to welcome you into their space and into their hearts. And they're going to cheer you along all the way. I have never been more proud of when I walked across the stage and my mother had met me halfway. And I recognized that I had always had the cheering section that I needed. The leadership here at Cooper Medical School will become for you what we hope our students become for us at Morehouse School of Medicine, and that is the extended family. The extended family that you will need to wrap you in their arms and to tell you and assure you that you are prepared for the next step. The next promise is that you will not have all the answers. Now, some of you, like me, really do believe that you're quite smart, but I will guarantee you that with the complexity of healthcare that we face, none of us know all the answers. And that's the value of the short coat, is that it allows for you time to figure it out. So I say to you, continue to learn, continue to endeavor, continue to ask the hard questions, and always try to perfect that balance of knowledge, wisdom, and compassion to guide your decision. I promise you that there is no cause greater or nobler than to serve others, and that after you don your white coat today, your life will be forever changed for the better. And finally, what do I wish for you? I wish for you that whatever specialty you choose, the same deep joy and special satisfaction in this profession of medicine that I have, that you will feel. And whether you go to be my favorite subspecialty, an ocular plastic surgeon, you know, there are only 2 fellowships in the country for ocular plastic surgeon. My girlfriend went to one of them. But if you choose to do that, that you will learn that you are a primary care provider until proven otherwise. And I know that for sure, because as a reproductive endocrinologist and fertility specialist, I'm pretty specialized. And I've never forgotten to check a patient's blood pressure before retrieval, or to do the ocular exam to make sure I wasn't seeing something or missing something, or to grab a patient's hand and while I'm holding her hand, to really be taking a pulse. All of those things are really what the foundation of medicine is about. It's about connecting with patients, meeting them where they are, and asking this one question, regardless of who's sitting in front of you, is, based on who's sitting in front of me, what's possible? And if you do that with every patient encounter, you have to consider the limits and the possibilities of that patient's ability to make a decision, the patient's ability to really enact what you have offered to them. You have to think about their family. You have to think about their transportation needs. You have to think about their values, and you have to always consider their culture. So please remember to ask that question, based on who's sitting in front of me, what's possible? Thank you very much.
Got something for you. Come on back. So I was thinking about saying something about Dr. Kirch and who his successive speakers would be, but I guess I won't do that. But I really want to thank Dr. Montgomery Rice for her presentation. Valerie, thank you. Inspirational as expected, and a really important message. And so on behalf of all of us and behalf of the class of 2018, a little token of our appreciation. So thank you very much.
Wow. That's a hard one to follow. Really nice. Well, we're going to now get into the ceremonial cloaking. And in doing that, I also want to let a lot of you know what these flags are about up here. First of all, students, they're called, and the banners are called gonfalons. Very good. That was not on the test this morning. And basically, I wanted to tell you the purpose of the advisory college, but Dr. Montgomery Rice just did. They're your extended families. I couldn't have said it any better. It's really wonderful. We initially thought they'd be an outlet for our students. They'd have the opportunity to get beyond the books, to get things out of their head, to clear their heads, to have some support, have some social fun. This year we added to our advisory college directors, assistant directors, and we've added the whole segment of career choice and career counseling and career direction. So the colleges have taken on an incredible meaning this particular year. But as Marion Lombardi and I have seen, they've also grown faster than we ever could imagine. They're a safe place for our students, a place for mentoring, a place where you show up with all these problems and the year above you says, oh, that's no big deal. And you're going to do that the next year, and you're going to guide the next year through. And within each college, there'll be 4 different mentors at 4 different years. And the vision of the college is that 25 years ago, when you come back for the reunion, we're going to be here, Paul, right? Yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll be here. We'll be here. That you'll have a separate reunion for your college. That's how important they've become. And because of that role, we started a tradition that the advisory college directors are those that will put the coat on you, the coat that symbolizes all that you just heard. So first we're going to start out with the Elizabeth Blackwell Advisory College. And if I could have Aaron Pucanis come to the stage, and replacing Paula Delatorre, Marion Lombardi, our Chief Student Affairs Officer. The reason the college was named after Dr. Blackwell is that she was really the first female physician trained in this country back in 1849, a true pioneer. And after getting her degree, went on to spend her entire life as a moral reformer. And if you look at our mission statement, I don't think many people have lived what we call inclusivity as she did back in that day. And interestingly enough, more than 50% of the student population of this school is female. All right, now I have to pronounce names. All right, will the Blackwell College first rise and start to come forward with your coats, nicely draped over your arm, just as we did in practice? Yes. Okay. All right. Adeshina Adiemo. And we're gonna hold the applause till after the end of a full college, because there's gonna be really good food later. Anthony Upigo. Alton Appleton. Kurt Bonner. Good. Stephanie Borinsky. Dana Bowen. Mira Chatterjee. Timothy Creasy. Timothy Dieselkamp. Alexandra Hamlin. Catherine Kaminsky. Eden Coco. Keithana Krusuri. Justin Lee. Catherine Marquetta. Emily Mathewson. Anthony Santisi. And Robert Wetzel. Let's all hear it for the Blackwell College. All right, the next banner is for the Harvey Cushing Advisory College, and if I could have Dr. Lisa Reed and Dr. Summer Botter come to the stage. For those of you who aren't aware, Dr. Cushing was the father of neurosurgery, trained at the likes of Yale, Harvard, and Hopkins, and in the 1980s changed just about everything in that field and exemplifies another aspect of our mission, which is innovation and innovation in teaching. Nishat Ahmed. Zachary Athing. Melissa Burke. Shamina Campbell. Susanna Calazzo. Gabriela Cantino. Robert Duffy. Joseph Gannett. Dana Hovern. Kyle Marden. Jennifer Nestor. Christian Wynn, Michael Palmieri, Saba Kadir, Christoph Sarachevsky, Richard Stark, Ama Tetifio, Chioma Onebo Bobona, it was all night. Let's hear it for the Cushing College of Medicine. And next, I'd like to have Dr. Richard Fisher and Dr. Jay Vanston from the William Osler Advisory College come to the stage. William Osler is a name that probably everybody has heard of. In the 1800s, he really transformed medicine. He went to McGill, Hopkins, and is often considered the father of modern medicine. He has many quotes, and you heard them at the opening ceremony with Brian Gable, able to give an entire presentation on it. I think what he's most noted for and what I admire the most is he took medicine to the bedside. And patient care became the most important thing. And that is another aspect of our mission. The Osler College. Bethany Canver, Loreski Calato, Samantha Calazo, Peter Cormier, Umar Dahawala, Nathan Dalrymple, Gabriella Hassinger, J.J. Hoff. You gotta wait, that's right. Amanda Malik. Ryan Miller. Megan O'Connell. Jessica Paulding. Jessica Richmond. Daniel Ricchetti. Matthew Rossi. Haley Shah. Joshua Seiner. And Kelly Spike. Let's hear it for the William Osler Advisory College. And our fourth college is the Benjamin Rush Advisory College. If I could ask Dr. Spevitz to come to the stage along with David Fish. Benjamin Rush, in the 1700s, signed the Declaration of Independence. He was right across the river there in Philadelphia, became the first Surgeon General for the United States, and throughout his career was noted for being a reformer, with his major interest being that of public health. This college symbolizes the mission part of our school of service to our community. Titi Lope Holuco. Ryan DeAngelis. Brad Fedor. Ian Gleaner. Jessica Healy. Michael Hidalgo. Alexandra Huddle. Ronald Ikachi. Rachel Kohler. Kristen Levin. Dean Morella. Mary Catherine Ricardo. Jennifer Rosenbaum. Lowell Safran. James Bertour. Ban Wang. You can just come up. We're ready. Okay, Amy Wilson. And Catherine Zatorsky. Let's hear it for the Rush College. All right, everybody stand. Thank you very much. It gives me enormous pleasure to introduce Dr. Jocelyn Mitchell-Williams. Just as the names of our colleges symbolizes our mission, so does Jocelyn. Jocelyn's just one of those people who seems to be everywhere. And I think it's symbolic as I thought about it last night, because as we tried to weave diversity and community into everything we do, Jocelyn is on every committee and everywhere. And that's the way it should be. She screened your applications. How many here did she interview? You can't forget that, right? Doesn't miss a meeting and is the go-to person for so many of our students. And I don't think there's anybody more appropriate to read the Hippocratic Oath with you than Dr. Jocelyn Mitchell-Williams.
Thank you and good afternoon. And let me be the first to tell the students how smashing you look in those new white coats. They look great. So a couple of things have changed since the last time I read the Hippocratic Oath, or when I was in your seat many years ago. And one is that the Hippocratic Oath is a different Hippocratic Oath than I read. There's a few versions out there, so this is a different one. And the second is that I'll use some reading glasses to read this. Things are getting smaller. I would like the class of 2018 to please rise. And I would ask my fellow physician colleagues to also rise as we recite the Hippocratic Oath. It's a great honor to be able to do this with my colleagues and welcome you. Now we're going to read the Hippocratic Oath, and we're going to not speed read it. I know you guys are, smart students, but this is to be read so that you can really get a feel of what you're going into and what this really means to all of us as physicians. Please read with me. I swear to fulfill, to the best of my ability and judgment, this covenant. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those physicians in whose steps I walk, and gladly share such knowledge as is mine with those who are to follow. I will apply for the benefit of the sick all measures that are required. avoiding those twin traps of overtreatment and therapeutic nihilism. I will remember that there is art to medicine as well as science, and that warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the surgeon's knife or the chemist's drug. I will not be ashamed to say, I know not, nor will I fail to call in my colleagues when the skills of another are needed for a patient's recovery. I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not disclosed to me that the world may know. Most especially, I will tread with care in the matters of life and death. It is given to me to save a life, all thanks, but it may also be within my power to take a life. This awesome responsibility must be faced with great humbleness and awareness of my own frailty. Above all, I must not play at God. I will remember that I do not treat a fever chart, a cancerous growth, but a sick human being whose illness may affect the person's family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related problems if I am to care adequately for the sick. I will prevent disease wherever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. I will remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings, those of sound mind and body, as well as the infirm. If I do not violate this oath, may I enjoy life and art, respected while I live and remembered in the affection thereafter. May I always act so to preserve the finest traditions of my calling, and may I long experience the joy of healing those who seek my help. Congratulations to all of you.
And welcome, please sit, please, everybody. So just a couple of final words. When you get a chance after the ceremony, look in your white coats and you'll find some notes. Don't look now. Don't look now. And those are something we started a few years ago, which includes a note from your advisory college director. But we did something else this year. We created the white coat notes. And the white coat notes are notes that your family, your friends, our faculty, our staff actually wrote, some to specific individuals and some to just members of the class. And as a new school, we're obviously very focused on many things, and one of the things we did is we actually charged people for the right to write a white coat note. And so all of the funds that we generated, about $11,000, is going to go to the Student Activities Fund. And this is to help support all of the things that the students do related to being part of our great medical school, to being in the community. And just remember, you'll have the opportunity to one day to write a white coat note for somebody else with a $100 check. I want to thank Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice. Thank you so much, Valerie. Wonderful presentation. Thank you. And I want to close by thanking some other people. Dr. Montgomery Rice mentioned family, and one of the things that we've worked very hard on at this medical school is creating a family. And I mentioned earlier in my remarks that this was an important day for all of us in the Cooper Medical School of Rowan University family. And while we didn't probably have quite as much anxiety as the class of 2018, who also had an exam today, we had great excitement about this. And there are lots of people who work in this building who aren't in this room and aren't in either of our two viewing spots, who really care deeply about the school and about all of you. And I think our students in this class have had the opportunity to meet them. And they've worked very hard, as they always do, around supporting our students in this event. So I want to thank all of them. I want to thank people on on the third floor who worked very hard in putting this together and coordinating it. And I won't thank all of you because there's a bunch of you, but sincere thanks to each of you. I want to close by, again, thanking everyone for being here. This is a special day. The celebration is not over. Please join us outside for refreshments. And again, many thanks for being here. And class of 2018, congratulations. Thank you all.
The answer to 21 was C. What we're going to do is, those of you who want to kill me now will stay a little after. We're going to have group advisory college pictures, so if the students could hang around and families start to proceed to the lobby. We have beverages, food. Oh, yes. See, this is when I have a teleprompter. It's called Marion Lombardi. I read her lips. Barnes & Noble is here. Is there a discount too? 25% discount on CMSRU apparel, so get your holiday gifts early. And I think they all deserve a little. No. And anything else, Marion? Thank you very much.